Welcome to our today's session, Is Satellite Still a Thing? My name is Satyajit Sinha. Feel free to call me Satya. I am Principal Analyst in IoT Analytics. We are a market intelligence company, provide market intelligence to IoT ecosystem player from chip to cloud. Uh, Let me introduce quickly to our panelists today. Jan Rohde, an engineer from CI's physics group at the German Polar Research Institute. Jan specializes in deploying autonomous measurement devices in some of the most remote and harsh environment on the Earth. Rob Spurrett, CEO of Lacuna Space, a company at the forefront of the providing global IoT connectivity via satellite, particularly using LoRaWAN technology. Filipe Azevedo, representing dstelecom, a company dedicated to bridging connectivity gaps in underserved regions, recently expanding into satellite IoT solution. I will quickly open to the panelists to introduce themselves and specific areas what they're working on so we can have a better understanding so where they are coming from. Jan?
Yeah, thanks, Satya. Hi, I'm Jan. I'm working as an engineer in the German Polar Research Institute, Alfred Wegener Institute. And my job is to build and deploy the instrument that we use for CI's research. And we are operating LoRaWAN at one of our research stations, but we also have a lot of autonomous sensors. That's why we are particularly interested in satellite connectivity.
Rob?
Cool. So, hi, Rob Spurrett. Lacuna's been involved in the development of LoRaWAN over satellite. Well, I guess we were the originators of it. So, been heavily involved in this this conference since the beginning. And yeah, we're here to try and bring connectivity to every place in the world.
So, hello everyone. My name is Filipe Azevedo. I act as Space Tech Lead at dstelecom, and we are responsible for delivering sharing infrastructures of networks on land, on sea, and on air.
Great. Now moving on to a topic, like is satellite IoT a thing? We'll try to answer that to this discussion today. But I think to understand the topic, I think Jan will be the right person to start with because I think what you are doing is basically going to answer basically this whole session. But still, feel free to start with that. How satellites IoT plays a crucial role in your work, right?
Yes, so like I said, so among many other tools, one tool are autonomous sensors that we deploy on the sea ice in the Arctic and the Antarctic for scientific reasons. We already operate, like I said, on our Antarctic research station, a LoRaWAN network, but that only ranges around 30 kilometers. And of course, still 90% of the devices that we deploy are far away from infrastructure. And so since we're doing this since many years, so we already use a lot of satellite-connected devices, but mainly Iridium and traditional satellite systems. And we are really hoping that the satellite IoT technology will decrease, of course, costs, but also energy consumption and in general, make the whole process of getting the data from our sensors to our database much easier.
Great, and I think that's clearly understanding with the satellite market has been there for a long time, as we all know, but the only problem that what Jan clearly highlighted is the cost was one of the major roadblocks. And I think then, Rob, you came to the picture with Lacuna Space here, which we can talk about. But it's interesting to understand that why you opted LoRaWAN over satellite technology, where there are other key technology also available for satellite technology.
Yeah, so when we really started working on this LoRa satellite project, absolutely there were other options available that did high bandwidths, but they nearly always were very expensive. They were kind of lockdown devices that you had to buy from the particular providers. They were high power. And so our idea was there are low-cost satellites emerging, and can we take that technology, combine it with a much more open ecosystem, which LoRa and LoRaWAN is, and arrive at a completely different price point? Okay, one of the trades that we've had to make there is that we're sticking within the small messages that LoRa is designed to do, but the challenge was, can you actually connect this and do a service at a completely different price point, one that can get close to terrestrial networks? And LoRa was the obvious choice at the time. Well, if I go back a little bit further, when we first started, everybody said, this cannot be done. You cannot connect a battery device to a satellite. We did a demo at the First Things conference back in 2018, and yeah, okay, since then, it's been shown that it does work, and there are lots of other people doing it as well as us now.
Yeah, 10 satellites up in the air, it is working.
Yeah, it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
It's getting there, yeah.
Filipe, dstelecom is a very fairly new name in this, specifically for satellite IoT market. How does the LoRaWAN over satellite becomes align with your strategy of your company?
Okay. So first of all, thanks for the question, and thanks for the invitation to be here representing my company, dstelecom. So I need to go back to the purpose of the company. dstelecom was born in 2008 with the mission of releasing the geographical barriers that low-density populated areas are subjected to. So with that being said, the dstelecom team provided an infrastructure that was capable of sharing an infrastructure of fiber within those areas, delivering the first and biggest European shared infrastructure of FTTH fiber optics cable. Since the company started already with an innovative idea, our innovation within our company has grown like seeds that were planted, and our innovation motto is land, sea, and air. The land motto I already explained. The sea, we are investing in smart submarine cables, and the air, we are deploying a 5G network system that is related to sharing spectrum or infrastructure to telco providers that operate within Portugal. With that being said, our space journey started with the MIT Aeros project in 2020. That mission, the objective of that mission is to monitor the Atlantic Ocean, and that mission won a very prestigious prize, that is the Mission of the Year of SmallSat Conference, and that's how our journey began, and was an effort of Portuguese consortium and the precious support of the MIT. That satellite was a 3U form factor that had an hyperspectral imager, an RGB camera, and under our responsibility, the IoT payload. That satellite as well acted as a precursor of a bigger Atlantic constellation that we are in as the IoT responsible at the moment, that is called New Space Portugal, that envisions the launch of multiple satellites until 2026 with the same vision of Earth observation and ocean monitoring. And since these satellites are considerably bigger, their payloads as well, so we believe that this system will proportionate to the scientific community a lot of growth, and we are eager to develop this and to pursue this aspect. About LoRaWAN, why do we choose LoRaWAN? We are interested in areas where is a lack of connectivity, and we believe the physical characteristics of LoRaWAN are perfect fit for these scenarios. And the cherry on top of this is that the LoRaWAN operates over ESCM bands, meaning that is a perfect fit for this project and the vision of satellite constellation.
Interesting. So, if I understand correctly, the OEMs can leverage your satellite. Means it can be satellite as a service model, and which will be very interesting for the industry right now, which has been untapped market for yet. And that's also brings me to Jan, to the point you also mentioned about the cost. I want to understand from you how much this cost is a roadblock, or how much it matters in terms of deployment in a large scale. How much is a pain point for you, and how it matters to the deployment?
Yeah, I think what's different for us is the number of devices that we are building. So we are science, so our devices, the numbers range between 10 and 100. So I think this is different to many people here. But that means that what it's important for us that we have like really very quick design process. From like we have a specific scientific question and a sensor, and we have a database, and we have to connect the sensor to the database real quick. So we have to develop PCB, write the firmware, configure the backend, configure the data transport, test it, test. We have to test it, of course, before deployment, and so this process needs to be very efficient for us because our research or our development resources are limited. We don't have that many engineers, so this is one of the most important things for us. The deployment costs are relatively high, but this is nothing that the satellite providers can change, of course. And the costs for the data transport itself, so the subscription, are in our case not so important. Of course, we care if it's $20 instead of $2,000 per month. That's of course different. But if it's like $5 or $10 or $50 or even $100 per device per month, this is for us not important. But the design process, from PCB design or hardware design, software configuration, and how to get data from the sensor to the database, this is for us the most important thing.
Correct. And in terms of subscription cost is very also important, if I understand that, right?
Yeah, good point. So like the maintenance of our devices, so the getting things into the network, register them, sort the data, get to data to the correct database. So basically the network integration, this is also important for that. This is easy. They just, I don't know, ideally just, I don't know, add the ID to the device and then the data ends up in the database magically.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Interesting. Rob, I think I want to understand from you, because past few years we have seen a lot of satellite IoT companies emerging, right? And going away as well.
Yeah.
And now the question is, like, is there a demand in the market you see, and to basically will be a room for all these satellite IoT players to be there, even if they are, I know here and there not equally same. They are deploying, someone is LEO, someone is GEO, someone is MEO. There are different requirements, but still, do you think there is enough demand in the market for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting question and one that taxes us. I mean, we on one hand, we'd love to be the only company doing it, but generally, if you're the only company doing something, you're probably pursuing a false business plan. Competition is just the result of having a decent idea. So, in that sense, we don't mind that there are lots of other people out there. I think the other thing is that we don't necessarily see that all of those business plans make sense. I know you're a great man for studying the business plans of these companies from the outside. Some of them don't make sense to us, but from day one, we've been on a very different path of ruthlessly making sure we can keep the capital costs low. Two things matter. First one, keep the capital costs low on the satellites, keep them simple, keep them straightforward. And secondly, make the throughput on the gateway as large as possible. And that is the critical factor that we've invested in right since the start. And I believe we have the gateway with the highest throughput. And then it's just the economics just make sense. You can get enough messages through to get down to the price levels where the connectivity element becomes irrelevant. It's at a level where it kind of doesn't count in the overall total cost of ownership.
Interesting. Filipe, from your side, I want to understand, like, I know what you are bringing to the industry is unique right now, but there are other players as well who have satellite in the LEO orbit and GEO orbit. How are you going to differentiate between your services that you're going to provide, and what will the differentiating factor?
Okay, thanks for the question. It is an interesting one. So, as I told before, we believe in sharing infrastructures, meaning that we believe that if we share infrastructure, we are acting as well towards sustainability. Because if you have a lot of capacity, if you can share amongst clients. So, turning a little bit back to the Aeros project, that's where we started, and we developed a technology that receives, demodulates, and forwards data to the onboard computer. However, as innovative minds that we believe we have to keep always an eye on the market. You have to pursue a certain amount of time looking into the market and see if there is technological gaps between your solution and the the solutions that are available on the market. And we believe that we have done our homework properly, and we found in Lacuna a solution that we can share our infrastructure with them, meaning that we will be responsible for the infrastructure, using the IoT payload, operating the satellite, and sharing the infrastructure amongst their clients, our clients, and other clients, so we can be more sustainable in what we believe bringing to space a sustainable, bigger IoT constellation to provide useful data to.
Interesting, makes sense. Rob, I want to understand from you as well, like, yes, we talked about demand, but we all know that use cases are the king here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what are the use cases that you're seeing in the market right now, like generally getting more traction from, like, any of them that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously anything in a remote area where that goes without saying, where sort of terrestrial connectivity isn't. Corsians is an extreme example of that. But even things as simple as smart agriculture, back in the UK, the farms are large enough that there's a hill, there's a valley, there's an area that can't be reached, right through to other countries with absolutely huge ranges of farms that you just cannot possibly kind of manage through terrestrial networks. We see a lot in smart agriculture, we see a lot in forestry, we see a lot of marine applications, and I suppose it's one of the challenges that we all have is that there is such a vast array of applications out there, all of them viable. And that's a brilliant thing about the LoRa ecosystem, is that you've got lots of ready devices, lots of people who specialize in those fields. And the reasons that we chose LoRa was that we can tap into that ecosystem. We don't need to learn and know all of these things about the multiple use cases. There are already people who are experts in agronomists serving smart agriculture, for example.
Interesting, yeah. Definitely, even as an analyst, I'm also seeing these applications going much farther than other applications. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Jan, from you want to understand that when you deploy any application or you want to plan for any application, what are the key factors that you look into any satellite operator before making a decision that I want to go with this satellite operator A or B? What are the key factors that you evaluate?
Payload and energy efficiency. That's the first thing. So our data, like the data rates that we're looking for, range between, like, let's say 100 bytes per hour or 50 bytes per hour to maybe 1 kilobyte per hour. So this is roughly the range. Of course, there's always demand for even higher data rates, but I mean, the 50 bytes to 100 to 1 kilobytes per hour. This is what we need most of the times, and to get this is in our special case the most important thing. The next thing is, of course, battery lifetime, and therefore energy consumption, so basically energy per kilobyte that we transmit. Costs are, like transmission costs, like I said earlier, are interesting and important, but not the most relevant factor for us. Yeah, I think that's...
Interesting. I'm going to double down on that one as well.
And so we can live with delays, for example, right? So we can wait for, okay, when deployed, we can wait 24 hours. But for development, this is waiting 24 hours for data set. This is quite annoying because then, like, it really slows down the development process. But for actual deployment, then delay is in our case not a problem.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm going to double down on that. And I want to ask you again that in future, what are your expectations, regarding the payload capacity? Like, how energy efficiency, you said about is very important. Like, what are your expectations from the industry that what technical capabilities should come forward that your payload and energy efficiencies, KPI becomes much more smooth?
Yeah, so my wish and my expectations are, of course, that the payload increases and that the satellite availability, also for satellite IoT, is a bit higher, that it's more than just a few overpasses per day, that you at least get one contact per hour at least. And I think so we will go two passes, like low data rates for individual sensors, but there will be still the demand for really high throughput. And so we will probably go with satellite IoT for some devices, and then we will go for high data rate systems in other cases. But my expectations are a little bit higher throughput than now, more satellite connectivity or like more overpasses, and yeah, still further reducing the energy consumption. That's what we're looking for.
And my question to Rob and Filipe on the same on is that how your company is going to address these requirements in future that they are expecting, and a larger data volume, energy efficiency operation. How are you going to address it?
And I mean, specifically, the one that we can both talk to is getting that better coverage, getting more satellites. So back in, I think it was the 2020 conference here, we announced the network concept where we sort of said we're really willing to partner with other people so that if they don't need to develop their own satellites, we'll provide a gateway and to their satellites, and then they can gain access to our satellites in other regions, and we can use their satellite when it's out of their region. And that's exactly the relationship that we have struck up with dstelecom, so that they will use our gateways, they will address their applications in their regions, and they will use our other satellites as well, and we'll get to use that satellite elsewhere. So it's this concept of kind of shared networks or distributed networks, I think, is one of the real emerging things to solve that issue of more frequent passes, lower latency, more data throughput as a consequence.
Yeah, makes sense.
So the master already spoken. I will just add a few tips on that. We believe time to market is key for success or insuccess, and if we push this shared infrastructure forward sooner, we believe that we are being sustainable since the beginning of our footprint on space. And as we used to say, alone we can go faster, but together we will for sure go further.
Interesting. I want to ask all of you one quick question that, like, yes, latency, cost, and these are where the key challenges were there in past. And how do you see going forward, like, or what are the key technology advancement you are seeing in the market right now that excites you about satellite IoT? And basically, you are challenging the latency, coverage, and cost issues which were in the past. You can start.
Yeah, I think most interesting thing for us is the seamlessly change with one chip from terrestrial to satellite connectivity, and with, of course, the low power. It has been said many times before, but yeah, so the integration of electronics are getting smaller, and that you can transfer with the same chip to multiple stations on land or in space. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the obvious ones, we've spoken about it at this conference for many years, but the computing on the edge, the introduction of AI on the edge, everything that reduces the rate, the amount of data that you transfer back. Then I think the energy harvesting that turns around and says, okay, you're reducing the battery sizes on the devices. All of these things are just making LoRa and LoRa applications more effective, bringing more value to customers each and every year. Conferences like this are surprisingly good advances. So yeah, see that continuing into the future.
Interesting.
From our point of view, when we're talking about LEO orbits, we have to consider the revisit time to downlink data. What is more fascinating in terms of innovation right now for me is inter-satellite communication, so that we can have reduced latency downlinking data. I believe that is the thing that is pushing in the innovation of satellite communication, because everyone talks about latency, everyone talks about data throughput, but you have to consider that you were talking about IoT, not a downlink capability with high throughput. So just to close this, I believe this is the right innovation method for the future, that is inter-satellite connectivity, reducing the latency of the data of the users that need.
Great. One last question just to Rob, and if you guys want to add on it. We all know 2025 SpaceX, Starlink announced that they're gonna come into the IoT space. We don't know much of the details that how it's gonna happen or not. How do you see this announcement? Like, it's a Apple moment for satellite whole market, or is it a competition? What's your point of view on that?
Yeah, we've got to see obviously what comes before we can properly comment on it. But yeah, I think it's been widely anticipated.
Yeah,
they will come into the market. That will be there. That will happen at some point in the near future.
Yeah.
As always, something that SpaceX brings to the market is going to be interesting.
Yeah,
it could be a huge disruptor, but as we've already seen with Starlink. Hey, even if they come out with something that's absolutely dominant, there's going to be people and places and significant markets that they cannot reach for various reasons.
Agreed.
Regulatory, geopolitical, whatever. So, yeah, it's great. Keeps us all on our toes.
Yeah.
It's a good thing about competition.
Yeah. Anything you want to add on that, everyone? It's okay. So, we just want to conclude. I think that the topic is still satellite IoT thing. What I can say is that it was always been a thing, and it is a thing. The only thing is the difference. What Jan also highlighted is about the worth of it, the cost structure of it, the scalability of it, the advancement of the technology that we are seeing right now, and there are multiple technologies coming into the picture. 3GPP satellite technology. What will bring competition in the market will enrich the market much higher. And also, as we talked about, SpaceX, unexplored area, we don't know what will happen, but still, it's a positive movement towards the market. The satellite as a service model was very interesting to understand. Going forward, we are able to see more kind of these deployments. Will bring the cost capex infrastructure much down, and will help the OEMs and the users like Jan to bring more and more deployments of satellite IoT. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. And feel free to have any question. Feel free to reach out to us and continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.